Hey you guys, today we are talking about the new Clinique Even Better Clinical Serum Foundation. This product is not your average serum foundation. Honestly, at this point, do you know what it started to remind me of? You're gonna see that sort of rehydrating thing in action. I never would have guessed that this was a Clinique foundation. We look at 4 things in these wear tests. We look at the texture and consistency of the foundation, we look at the coverage, full, medium, or light, and we look at a full day wearability test, and then we see how it stacks up against the competition. This product is not your average serum foundation. I have tried a couple of other serum foundations for you guys throughout the month of January, and because they are serum foundations, because they are skincare based foundations, it kind of has just gone hand in hand with the fact that it's sort of a light to medium coverage, sort of a skin tint sort of foundation. You'll see here in the wear test how very different this is from the ones that have gone before it. Everybody always asks me what my color is, so for reference, I am CN10 shade Alabaster. I'm gonna show you guys in here how I tested the color because I was a little bit apprehensive about that when I bought this. So let's go ahead and jump into our time-stamped wear test here. I went in and prepped my face as I always do, so I've got my moisturizers, my sunscreen on. I've also got under eye concealer on. I just went ahead and did that before the foundation, and I've got my eyebrows filled in. So all of the products that I used to prep, I will link in the description box below for you guys. So going in, first cool feature about this is the bottle itself and the awesome pump that comes with it. It's just a really cool pump. It looks like I'm struggling to get the lid off there. Their website actually does say it's more of like a twist and pop off than just a yank like I did there. Should have looked into that first. But the pump is really nice, really convenient. It's a very liquidy foundation. Going in with our texture and consistency test here, you can see it kind of running around on the back of my hand. That was about a pump and a half worth of the product. So I'm going to go in and do the color test here first. The way to do this is take a little bit of the foundation just on your finger and do one stripe there along your jawline like you see me doing. Tap it out, blend it out. You could blend it out a little bit more than I have here. But if it disappears into your skin like that is on me and sort of really matching well to your neck, you know you've got a good color match. So that's fantastic. Because again, with that cool neutral, I'm not usually cool neutral. I was worried it would be a little bit pink, but it actually ended up being a really good color for me. I'm going in using my foundation brush. Because this is a serum foundation, you could apply it with your fingers. The website also says you can go ahead and use a beauty sponge if that's your preferred method of application. I like my brush, you guys know this, so I am going in with that. So now we're getting into our question about coverage. What kind of coverage does this foundation offer? And honestly, at this point, do you know what it started to remind me of? It kind of reminded me of the Il Makiage After Party Super Full Coverage Foundation that I tested for you guys a couple weeks ago, which I was shocked, honestly, because number one, it's a serum foundation and I wasn't expecting this level of full coverage. Number two, my experience with Clinique has not ever been this massively full coverage. You saw the difference there between the side of my face that was done and the side of my face that wasn't. And what I'm going to be showing you guys here, we've jumped ahead and I'm kind of finishing up the application of that pump and a half. I still had about a quarter or a third of it left on the back of my hand when I was done. Here you can see how much product was still on my hand that went unused, and I still achieved that level of coverage. That very much put me in mind of the Il Makiage. So I'm going to go ahead and do some more face makeup here for the day. I'm setting it with my Chaté London Extraordinary Translucent Setting Powder that I always use. And then I'm going to go in with bronzer, blush, and highlighter from a small company, up and coming. Everything that I've used by them, these blush, bronzer, highlighter are the, well, I guess they're the newest 3 products I've used by them, but it's by Phase Zero, as you just saw there. And you'll see when I go in with the bronzer, it is just a really good bronze. First of all, in the color. Second of all, obviously I went in with a little bit too much on my brush. Look at how beautifully this blends out into just this really natural bronze finish. Bronzer is not something that I usually will say, wow, that looks really natural. I will say it looks sun-kissed, I will say it looks like a natural tan, but the bronze glow, really natural. Really light pink blush here works really well for me on my skin. A nice wash of pink. I feel like a problem with blushes sometimes is it's way too poppy. Really nice wash of pink that I got there. And the highlighter is very subtle and understated as well. It's not that really wet, high voltage high wattage highlight look that you get from a lot of other popular highlighters on the market. So I was really surprised and pleased. I feel like Phase Zero needs its own video from me. So here's our first timestamp at 11:23, and here we're gonna go in with a close-up of what we're looking at. Really full coverage here. Notice in particular along my jawline. I know you guys see me do lighter coverage foundations and you see the blue veins for a very thin, fair skin. Not getting any of that here. Full coverage to start. So going in with our first timestamp at 2:46, so we're about 3.5 hours in, which is a little bit longer than I typically do. But we're gonna take a look at it from far away and again up close. It's looking really good. We haven't lost any coverage here. It's not shifting or moving around at all, and it's not settling in an unattractive way. What you'll see is that I still have really good coverage, but it's not settling into those fine lines around my mouth. And it seems to kind of have this like rehydrating capability where when you would start to get oily, when you would start to get a little bit of cake face, it kind of rehydrates itself and smooths and blurs back out. So checking out the coverage there, even in the T-zone and my chin where I'll touch it a lot, still looking really good. The oil blot test actually went really well here too. This is the timestamp where I'll always check to see how the oil production is going, and not very much is going to come off on this cloth, which again, for a serum foundation, a hydrating foundation, that's really not that common. Either it's going to move around a lot as soon as I go in with the oil blotting sheet, or that oil blotting sheet is going to come away like fully blackened from all of the gunk I'm taking off of my face. So our next check-in was at almost 6 o'clock, and you're going to see that sort of rehydrating thing in action over the next couple of wear tests, check-ins rather. So here you can definitely see I'm looking a little bit oily. So the expectation here is going to be I'm getting a little bit of cake face, it's shifting on my cheeks. So here's the up close, and you can kind of see I'm getting a little bit more of the pore visibility because the makeup is sort of fighting my oil production, causing things to shift and move around. From a few steps away, I thought it still looked really amazing, but here up around my nostril and where I have the largest pores on my cheeks, you're definitely starting to see some of that combat. So I didn't oil blot again, I didn't repowder or do anything else. I typically don't because I want to see how it's just going to wear on its own. But you're going to see here in a second at the next timestamp, it sort of seems to have re-smoothed itself back out. Something about that serum, something about that skincare really goes to work here. So obviously I am an oily oil slick at this point, but up close here you can see somehow it looks a little bit blurred again. Whereas with other really full coverage foundations like this, serum based or not, you're gonna get that caking. It's gonna just gather more and more and more in those fine lines around your face and in those little hooks and creases around your nostrils. Here, it sort of just re-smoothed itself out without me doing anything else to it. Despite that, you see me kind of swiping at my face here. Oil control is not this foundation's forte. I definitely by the end of the night had that feeling of I can feel the makeup on my face. It feels heavy on my face, like I can just sort of start wiping it off with a finger. So while it does seem to rehydrate, smooth itself back out, re-blur any imperfections as your oil production starts to fight with it during the day, it doesn't control your oil production, if that makes sense. So for a full day of wear, I'm actually giving this one a pretty big thumbs up. One, because it's a serum foundation and it held up with beautiful full coverage throughout the day. And I have yet to see one of these sort of skincare infused serum based foundations that offers awesome oil control. But honestly, if someone had had me test this foundation blind without a label on it, I never would have guessed that this was a Clinique foundation. I've used plenty of Clinique foundations throughout my life and they've all been good, but I don't remember any of them being this full coverage that worked so beautifully. I think the last full coverage foundation that I tried by this company, it was just so-so and I never actually wanted to reach for it again. What this one offers in terms of full coverage, I want to reach for that again and again. When I am wearing a really full coverage foundation, this might be the best that I have seen in that category. Which brings me to, how does this stack up against the competition? So the beautiful thing about Clinique foundations is they always kind of fall in that middle price range between like $30 and $45. This one is no exception. This one is $42 US. Now, because you've already heard me mention it, I'm going to pit this against the Il Makiage After Party Foundation. You can go and check out the wear test that I did for this one and you'll see kind of what I mean. This one has a crazy full coverage capability. And from a few steps away, I loved this. I thought it was really, really beautiful full coverage foundation. But up close, this one was plagued by that traditional full coverage problem of gathering in the lines around my mouth, really drawing attention to my pores as it wore throughout the day. The blurring features, whatever is in this that makes it blur stuff out and kind of just create that smoothed look, even though it's not necessarily controlling oil super well, that one just makes this win over this one in my mind. This one is $44, this one is $42, so they're really, really comparable, and Clinique is taking the gold on this one. Now, because Il Makiage is absolutely not a serum-based foundation, this is just a full coverage, thick foundation, I wanted to pit this against another serum foundation. The other one that I tried this month that I really liked was the Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation. I said in the wear test video for this that it just made my skin look pretty. It actually did have really decent coverage for a serum foundation. Nowhere near as full as this, but really beautiful, glowy finish, decent coverage. I wasn't looking at my face going, wow, it looks like I have nothing on. This one is $54 US, and the advantage on this one, if you are looking for it, is that this is a fully vegan product. The product by Clinique specifically avoids ingredients that are known to be harmful to skin, and I mentioned in a previous video that clean beauty is kind of a loosey-goosey term in the industry. It just means that no ingredients are used that are known to be harmful to skin, but there are other synthetic alternatives, whereas Ilia is entirely vegan. So depending on what you're looking for there, Ilia might win out for you. If you're looking for something a little bit lighter coverage, you could always use less Clinique, maybe, but you saw how little I actually used. I think about 1 pump total is all that came off the back of my hand in the application. This is gonna be a much more light to medium coverage, whereas this one is definitely medium to full, leaning towards full. This is the first foundation I have tried by Clinique in a while that I have been really impressed by. So I definitely give it a full thumbs up, highly recommend it. I will link it down below for you guys if you want to go and check it out. Thank you so much for watching. Love your viewership as always, and I will see you in my next video. See ya.